What is up, everybody? Coach Chad here, back with another episode of the Fit CEO podcast. And today we got a special guest. His name is Mr. Jeremee Norman, one of our NLCA clients. Jeremee, quick introduction, and then let's dive in.
Yeah, my name's Jeremee Norman. I've been a trainer for 20 years now, so I've been in the industry for a long time. I still love it every single day. It's a passion of mine. It's my way of life. It's the way I live, and I just try to help other people kind of get better at the way they live. I've owned a couple businesses. I've battled through COVID. My biggest backstory I'd say on myself is I lost my dad when I was 19 years old. So it kind of threw a loop. I was in college, quickly got out of college, started my career, and I can't complain. My career has been great. So I took something bad and turned it into something that was livable, and it's made a career for myself, and it's made me the person I am today. Through the struggle, I've been able to, grow.
Wow, you got vulnerable right from the get, and I really appreciate it. If you don't mind, I would love to dig a little bit deeper. Obviously, it sounds like your dad had a lot of inspiration and bearing on your career. And once again, if that's sensitive and you don't want to dive deeper, let me know. But talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm a complete open book. So my dad was overweight most of my childhood, and it was always my dream to get him into losing weight and being able to do more stuff with me outside, play sports. He was always an advocate of getting me to sports and doing everything that I needed to do, but he wasn't necessarily good at participating because he had injuries or issues due to being overweight for so long. I guess one of the hardest things was when he passed away of a major heart attack. It was around the same time John Ritter had passed away. So in terms of me getting my career the way it was, it stemmed a lot off of that, because I saw what things I might have been able to change in his life that could have prolonged it. I'm not saying I could have, but a lot of the things that I would have changed in his life, in his nutrition, in his habits, I kind of have taken that as my own to help other people, to help parents, to help grandparents, so they can live a long, healthy life and not have to kind of go through the struggle that I feel my dad put me through, unfortunately, with his passing.
That's honestly crazy, man. I have a very similar story. I have a lot of reasons why I got into fitness, but my dad was, for the better part of us growing up, was right around like 300 pounds. He was about 5'10". So he was a overweight, honestly obese individual. Loved sports, got me into football, got me into lacrosse, would be an avid supporter of me doing sports. But same thing, when I asked him to work out or I try to get him to lose weight, it was always pushback or, the reason why he couldn't do it. He did Weight Watchers once, got super skinny, ballooned back up. I think he did Weight Watchers maybe one more time. All me just like hounding him, you got to get fit, you got to get fit. And still to this day, he's alive, 58. But I still get very concerned of exactly that, major heart attack or stroke happening at any moment. So crazy, man. Crazy how similar that is.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's made me transition my life to make sure that I'm watching out for those signs, to make sure I'm healthy and I'm doing the right things. So, I preach and I do it myself.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. This is off to a really good start. All right. So you mentioned that you have 19 years personal training experience. Is that right?
Yes. This is my 20th year.
Okay. Hell yeah. How much of that has been online versus in person?
So it really started with COVID. So during COVID, I had my business and I had to make a transition really quick. So I transferred them right into Zoom. I retained about 80% of my clientele. I've had a lot of my clientele since I started. So way back when I was, 19 years old, I still have clients from way back then. And then the clients that I've built on since then, they kind of stay with me. So they were very loyal and stuck with me and kind of worked me through the COVID process as everybody else had to. And then through COVID, I was growing my business. Actually, I had people that were coming to me from Connecticut doing virtual training. I had people coming to me from, France. I had people from all over the place. And I was getting to a point where how can I help more people without the time that I'm not having? I have 3 kids. So managing my time is very, very difficult at times. I'm a single dad, which also plays a role. So transitioning to online and doing the most of what I can give is really what I was looking for. And I really didn't know how to do that. And that kind of what started me, finding out, what company can help me get that next step. So the online training's been about, I'd say if you count the virtual training with COVID, it was since 2021.
Nice. Okay, cool. So my grand old question here is, obviously you did a lot of in-person training. Why didn't you start online training sooner? It sounds like COVID kind of forced you down that path, but what were some of your challenges to starting it sooner?
Yeah, I'd say one of the drawbacks is people's awareness of what online training is. Even myself, it's like online training. I was like, yeah, that's, you can't help them. You can't give them weights. You can't spot them. How good is this? But the more and more I did it, and again, I was forced into it. I saw how much more I was able to give to my clients. It wasn't just that one time in the gym and the few text messages we were doing during the week. I was able to touch my clients, 3, 4, 5 days a week with them being able to interact with me. And my clients were starting to realize how much more that I was able to give to them by allowing them to do programs online. And that kind of transferred into me doing more nutrition stuff with them and getting them more educated. There was just way more communication involved versus somebody coming in to see me once a week or twice a week. And that being the only interaction that you get. Because as you know, you do things twice a week, there's still 5 other days to get into trouble. So I try to prevent that by saying, all right, well, we're going to do a 5-day plan. These are the days you're going to do your cardio. These are the days you can do your strength. And this is your nutrition plan. So I kind of wrap it all up into one instead of just doing one aspect of them.
From a pure sales standpoint, I know a lot of in-person trainers, when they're making the transition to online, are terrified of pitching the online aspect. I mean, you retained 80% of your clients. It sounds like you had a really good approach. What would be a tip there for any in-person trainers looking to convert some of their clients online?
I mean, I definitely, you need to understand the process of what the online training is, what the difference is, be able to answer the questions that they're going to have for you. But it's just being open and honest. This is the move I need to make in my career. Like I said, I've had a lot of my clients for a very long time. They know what I've been through. They know the divorces. They know the being a single dad. They know losing my dad at a young age. They know the struggles, but they also know that hasn't affected anything in their programs. My life is open, but it also doesn't come into play when I'm training them. So being open and honest with your clientele and relating to them is really how I've been able to maintain and create the career that I've had for 20 years and hopefully, 20 to 30 more, just as a different type of business, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I think the big takeaway I had there is you stood up for yourself. And I feel like a lot of personal trainers are used to, kind of getting walked all over or being treated not the best, but you stood up for yourself in your career and just said, matter of fact, this is the direction that I'm going with it. And you can come or you can choose not to. So good on you. One other question pertains to the in-person side of things, because I know there's a lot of in-person trainers that listen and are looking to make that transition. What do you think are some of the 1 to 2 skills that you were able to bring over from your in-person career into your online career?
I'd say one of them is definitely communication. So being able to communicate with your clientele when it comes to, you usually see them do an exercise, usually see them do things, but when you're online, you have to transfer that into, say, I need you to send a video, a form. I need a form video of this. I need a form video of that. Or you come to me and you say, my shoulder's really bothering me. I can, ask you A, B, and C, but now I need a form video. I need you to send me what's going on so I can help you correct that. So you still have that ability. It's not like you're blind. I don't know what they're doing. You need to just learn the techniques to be able to get them to give you the information that helps you make the next move. I'd say that's the biggest one. Again, it's open communication and then making sure you know what your program entails. I know I need form videos, so I'm going to ask you for them. I know I need transition pictures, so that I know you're going to like the look at that. So I know to ask for those things. I know how to ask for them, to not kind of make the person uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So a lot of it translated onto the virtual, the online training. And I'd say I have nothing bad. I love the way that I transitioned. Do I miss one-on-one training in person once in a while? Sure. It's something that it's unlike anything else. But would I go back to fully in the gym? Absolutely not.
Right. 100%. I want you to answer this one honestly, because not just because I own an online fitness coaching company, but I want you to answer this one honestly, because I know it's a big question that a lot of people looking to get into the training world ask themselves. Do you need to be an in-person trainer prior to being an online trainer? Yes, no. Answer 100% honestly. Go.
I would say no. I'd say being an online trainer and transitioning into being an in-person trainer and transitioning to online trainer, there's a lot of things of like habits. You're stuck in habits as an online trainer, as an in-person trainer. I can't talk today. So an in-person trainer, you have all these habits that you're used to doing. You have the check marks, you have, your routine, what you do with your client, and that changes completely and you have to relearn it. So sometimes when you come into something without that background, you're able to pick things up quicker. You're starting with a clean slate instead of transitioning from being, in person to going online. It's a little more difficult at the beginning, but again, it starts to flow and you can really understand what you're doing and again, how much more you can help people.
Good answer. I'm just kidding. I'm glad you answered that honestly, because I know that's a big question for a lot of individuals. I'm going to take this a different direction. You mentioned that you are a single father. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges being an entrepreneur and a single father. Moving online, how has that helped you? Has it actually been more challenging? What's been the experience with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely challenges in it. There's going to be challenges with everything, but I'd say my youngest is 4, so she's just hit preschool this year. And the amount of time that I was able to spend with her in this transition was amazing. They're only, 4 years old once. Then, next year she's in kindergarten. So she's kind of out of my house more often. So the amount of time I was able to spend with her, whether I'm virtually training and my clients all know her and it's kind of like a fun joke with them, the ability to go to my son's baseball games, the ability to take my stuff with me and work on it when I'm there, the ability to multitask and be at my daughter's basketball games. It was definitely something I would never have been able to do and grow in the situation that I was in, owning my own business and being an in-person trainer.
What would you say is the biggest challenge of being a single father and owning an online fitness coaching company?
Finding out how to wear all the hats. You definitely need to be great with time management. Setting up Google calendars, making sure when, social media is such a big part of, being an online trainer. You need to get your word out there. So setting up calendars to know this is when I'm going to do my social media. This is when I'm going to be able to do my meetings with the groups. And then knowing when your children are doing things and what it's going to take to get them there. And does it mean there's a lot of late nights and early mornings? Absolutely. But if you want to be a business owner, whether you're in person or online, you got to be able to sacrifice those things. So if you're sacrificing yourself and you're not sacrificing for your kids, then, really what are you doing? You have to manage that. So you don't make yourself feel bad.
Yeah, I love the honesty there. I had Katie Neiman on, who is a single mother, and she said a lot of the same things. And I know there's a lot of single fathers and mothers out there, so I'm sure that will be really helpful for them. I know we haven't talked about NLCA yet, but kind of going in that direction. Let's start here. How did you find us?
Well, I found us right here on the podcast. So somehow I came across you in the podcast and I started listening to it. And just really the realness that comes from you. It's like, is this real? And how, like, you don't let things in the background, you don't delete them, you don't change anything. I felt comfortable right away. So then I just started listening and listening and listening. And I got more interested and I started doing research online. And then, then the process started and I was hooked right away. And I'm still hooked. I mean, I think it's a great, and this isn't just coming because I'm on this podcast. This is a great company, and I've really enjoyed the whole process of it. I feel like it's a great community. I've bonded with a lot of people. I've made a lot of connections with. If you're in the gym industry, you don't realize, like, it's not competitive. If you work in a commercial gym, with thankfully I've never had to do, it's compete for that client, do this, do that. In this community, we're all doing the same thing. We're all coaches, but we're all growing together. We're not competing against each other. So I think that was the biggest thing, because in my career, I've never had to compete. I've always handed clients to people. I've always worked with doctors. I've worked with chiropractors, worked with physical therapists. So, I mean, that aspect of NLCA has been the best.
Thanks, man. I appreciate the shout out on the truthfulness. One of our company core tenets is truth first. So I got to embody that to the fullest if my team is going to do the same thing. And on the community aspect, I think you hit the hammer on the nail. I think the unique thing with online is exactly that. We're not in true competition. We're not all in that corporate box gym fighting over, the person that walks through the door. And we're truly there to share ideas, like you mentioned, be in the group calls, bounce ideas off each other. And I think that's one of my favorite parts. So, all right, you catch me on the podcast. You're enjoying it. You sign up for NLCA. When you made the investment, were you terrified? Were you scared? There's only spectrums of fear there. And what got you over that hump?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that it's always that price point. What are you willing to do? But I've been doing a lot of work on myself, and really digging deep in and saying, what does Jeremee have to do to make the next step? And it's invest in myself. And that's what the decision I made. So when it was proposed, when the price was there, yeah, you sit back and you're like, is this really worth it? But I decided, I just said, hey, I'm doing this. I'm going to commit to it. And I'm going to get everything I have into this process. And like I said, I did the research on the company. I looked up reviews. I looked at, different people that had said this company or this company. And I was just hooked off the start.
Nice. Hell yeah. So you joined the program. What were some of before we get into results, what were some of the big challenges that you had in your first couple months?
I'd say talking to my current clients and getting them to know what this new program was. So I had a lot of clients that were, virtual, that I still have clients that are virtual, that are still kind of transitioning back and forth. So it's more of like explaining what it is that I do now, and getting everything organized. I think I'm a very organized person, but when everything is thrown kind of at you at once, it's like, well, what do I do? And again, to say something, super positive about it is when the modules are broken down, it says stop and do this process. Don't continue until you do this process. You're not going from A all the way to the end. You're segmenting it. And I think when I first came into it and I was like, this is so overwhelming, I don't know how to do all this. As soon as I heard that, stop and plug, it made everything so much easier, because I felt like I was finishing tasks as I went. And that was, again, for my brain, for me being OCD, that was huge for me. Huge.
I'm the same way. It's probably why I created it that way.
It's great.
Yeah, 100%. So talk us through some of the results, and then we'll work backwards from there on how you achieved it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a ton of work. I mean, you're not just going to come in, sign up and be a millionaire. You got to put the time and effort into this program, but all the tools are there for you. You follow ABC, you get ABC. So, I mean, in terms of where I've come, so I started, if you consider the online industry, I had nothing. I had my virtual training, but it wasn't on the online business that I have now. So starting in the first month, I've signed my first client through DMing, which is something I had never done before. So that was a huge thing. So I got a cold lead and I signed them up and I was like, all right, this is awesome. And then as I continued on, started getting easier and easier, talking to people, relating to people, explaining, how things work. And then, growing from there, I had my first $5,000 month, which was, one of my check marks that I wanted to accomplish. It was one of the, fulfilling moments. So you like to see that money come in the bank. And then growing from there, as I kept building my systems up, building, my community, being more interactive on social media, I started to grow. And then I hit my first $10,000 month. Was like, all right, here we go. I'm, 4 months into the program now, and I got my first $10,000 month. Moving into, end of the year, transitioning, I signed up for certified coach. So I went from the apprentice program to the certified coaching program. So I was able to finish the certification and everything that's involved in that. And then kind of grew into more of like what am I going to do now? I'm at a point where I need to look at like staffing. I need to look at where's my company going to grow. And before I was able to even dive into the staffing, which kind of, this is what transitioned me into the master coaching program, is I hit my first 20K month. And it was, it wasn't planned at all. I was, happy with, I think I had about 12,000 in the transition. And all of a sudden something just exploded. And I had like 4 or 5 people sign up for full year coaching. And that's what kind of put me over the top. So what that showed me is all the hard work that I had put in with the DMing and the social media, and all my clients are saying like, you're doing a great job. People are watching, even if they're not liking your views, they're not interacting, they're there, they're watching. And you just need to show up for them and tell them, be consistent. You're showing up for them. You're here to help them. You're not here just to collect a paycheck. And that's what I've kind of promoted my whole career. I'm not here to collect your money. I need your money, but I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you grow. I'm here to help you achieve your goals. If you don't achieve your goals, I haven't done my job, and I'm not happy with that. So I'm kind of at that point now where I'm in master coach, and it's a lot, and I'm ready for it. And it's more of that organization. Where do I go now? Which spreadsheet do I fill out now? Spreadsheets, and luckily my coach is the data queen. So she's
That's
helping me a
true.
lot with that.
Yeah, that's very fair. I know why we're so direct. We're both from the East Coast. It took me a second to remember, but I was like, all right, that's why. All right, a lot to unpack here. We won't dive into all of it. I think we need to do a part 2, Jeremee, if I'm being honest. I'm enjoying this one, and I think there's a lot more we can dive into. But let's talk about the 0 to 10K, right? The 10 to 20K, we can save that for the next one. If you had to pinpoint it to 3 things that led you to your first 10K month, what would you say those are?
DMing, and DMing.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about outreach.
Yep. So we'll end it here, and then we'll do a part 2 later on. But let's dive into DMing for a little bit, because there is like this red tape caution around the word DMing. It's almost labeled as like one of the terrible fitness myths, fill in the blank. Did you have some of those preconceived notions going into it, and how did you work around that?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing, and I heard it definitely in the program, not exactly sure where I heard it, but I'm valuable, and I'm only looking to try to help someone. I'm not going into the DM like a bot and just trying to bother people. I'm there because I've either interacted with you, I've seen you on a separate page, you're in a group of mine, I've seen you ask questions. I'm reaching out because I honestly care. If it's not you signing up with me, I'm willing to send you free resources. Whether I've been complaining a lot about my hip, yeah, well, I have this resource, let me send it your way. And it's not like I'm willing to give all this free stuff to you because I want to help you. And then in the end, if you want me to help you more, I'm here, my value is there for you. But if I don't initiate and I don't show you what I can give you, then you really don't know.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It's not just an opportunity to book a call, but like you said, it's an opportunity to build your brand, to show people that you care, and to provide them with external resources where even if they didn't sign up, they're still going to get value from you.
Right. And it's to show people they can do it. A lot of people just don't think they can do it. They see, a transformation, and they're like, yeah, I can't do that. So just to be able to explain to them that they can, or even just like, I have so many people that aren't connected with me really, but I jump on their posts and I say, hey, you're doing great. I'm not looking for anything from them. I'm just looking to celebrate them, because that's what I'm about. I'm about celebrating other people.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people forget this, but honestly, prior to social media, the way that business transacted is you would go to some sort of event or something along those lines, and you would meet people in person, and you would shake their hand, and it would be cold and you wouldn't know them. You'd exchange business cards, and eventually you'd do business together. This is just through the DMs. So nothing has really changed other than the medium in which we do it.
When I think the big thing too is they can research you right off of you DMing them. So you've messaged them, then they can go to your page and see, well, what is this guy all about? And my social media page is definitely, it shows you who I am. It's about my family. It's about my lifting. It's about my eating. It's about me being goofy, dad jokes. It's who I am. I'm not pretend. That's who I am. Whether you like it or not, I can't change it.
What's your best dad joke?
Oh boy. Well, I think the one I posted on social media, so we got a ton of snow, and of course it was in March. So it was more of like, well, it's snowing outside again, and I'm about to hit the greens. And then I flipped the camera around and I got broccoli and asparagus.
There we go. That's a good one. That is a good one.
Corny dad jokes, you like them? I'm your guy.
Yeah. I don't have kids yet, but my soon-to-be wife has said that I'm already starting to form into a father with dad jokes and making the aching noises when you sit down, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. I've had dad jokes. I've told I have an old soul. I've had dad jokes since I was 13, I think.
Okay.
Or even like making little whistle noises that, for no apparent reason.
Sounds like a dad thing to do. Cool, man. Well, dude, last question I got, and then we'll get you on the books for a part 2 later on, is anybody who's on the fence, they're nervous, they're scared to join NLCA. What would you say to an individual like that?
I'd say stop overthinking it. Push the damn button. You won't be disappointed. Got great coaches, great leadership. And you have, the rest of the students. It's a great place to be. You want to be around like-minded people. You want to celebrate with the 5 or 10 people that are like you. This is the place to go. Everybody's trying to get better. No one's trying to beat you up. Every call starts with, what are your 3 wins? That was the hardest thing I had to do when I first started. Wins, what are those? I'm not used to celebrating myself. Well, they make you rethink and really like, all right, yeah, I'm excited to bring on my win. This is good. I don't care if it's just as little as nothing to something that's huge. We all celebrate each other. So it's amazing.
100%. Well, there you have it, everybody. Jeremee, where can people find you?
I'm at Storming Into Fitness for Instagram, and then Jeremee Norman for Facebook.
All right. Y'all go bombard Jeremee's DMs now. Ask him all the NLCA questions. Make sure you give him a follow. And thank you guys for listening. Peace out.